I don't know how Frank White, our Jackson County executive, survives this. I don't understand how he can possibly go on as the Jackson County executive amidst this disaster of a tax assessment crisis. And once again yesterday, the guy was nowhere to be found. The Jackson County legislature yesterday took an unusual step. They passed a resolution 8-1 asking the state auditor's office to take a look at the entire county tax assessment. Unbelievable next step. By the way, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Stay cool. Another 100-plus degree day on tap for Kansas City. My goodness. But it has just been issue after issue after issue in Jackson County. And yesterday, we told you about how KCTV5 helped uncover this, our partners over there at KCTV5. 500 homes saw a tax assessment of $356,270. To the dollar, 500 homes with that exact number. And by the way, those homes that reached that number saw an average increase of 168% on their assessment. Something is wrong here. There have been 54,000 appeals across Jackson County on these tax assessments. A county with 500,000 people. 54,000 appeals have been filed. This is the biggest boondoggle I've seen by local government in my time doing this show here in Kansas City. And yesterday, when the legislature met, the Jackson County executive, Frank White, was MIA, along with Assessor Gail McCann Beatty. The two people most responsible for this, the chief executive for the county and the head of the assessor's office, were missing in action. They were nowhere to be found. So what did that mean yesterday? Well, KCTV5 was there on the scene. Angie Rincono once again doing great work. And she had to track down Troy Schulte. He's the county administrator. You may remember him when he was Kansas City city manager. He was the only guy with any kind of juice outside the legislature itself who was there yesterday. Troy Schulte, here's part of what he had to say.
We don't think there's a mistake.
Left to answer questions today, Jackson County Administrator Troy Schulte.
We don't think there's a mistake? Dude, what are you smoking? I mean, have you seen some people who bought homes in the last year for $100,000 who got assessments for $300,000-$400,000? And you don't think there's a mistake? I mean, at what point do you go from having aloof government officials to simply having government officials who just give you two middle fingers and walk away? And by the way, Troy Schulte and I have bumped into each other on multiple occasions. I think he's, a fine guy. But how do you say that with a straight face?
That's because Jackson County Executive Frank White and Assessor Gail McCann Beatty were not present at the meeting. Schulte downplayed information surrounding $356,270 as an opinion. Later, he said the third party...
No, it's not an opinion when you have 500 homes in the county getting the exact same valuation to the dollar, $356,270. That's not an opinion. That's data. That's the antithesis of an opinion. An opinion would be I'm getting screwed. The data is there are 500 homes that have the exact same assessment value, and those 500 homes saw an average increase of 168%, suggesting there's something incredibly wrong with the 500 homes that saw that exact same valuation.
That's fair to point out then that none of those homes are valued at $300,000, or not none of them, but many of them aren't valued. It's not like they're $300,000 homes that went up.
Yeah, no, they're not.
That number, right? We're talking about vacant lot.
Yes, there was a vacant lot on this list.
A guy paying under $100 for something, and now it's worth whatever it was, what the number is.
$356. Yep. I mean, there was a vacant lot that was bought for $25,000.
There we go.
In this story that is now valued, according to the county, at $356,270. That's just an opinion. No, that's the opposite of an opinion. Troy Schulte, come on, man.
Vendor should explain what happened.
We'll drag him in and try to get an answer.
Okay, so have you guys reviewed your own data that you've been given from Tyler about this?
I haven't been able to. I haven't reviewed it, so we'll get the experts in and figure out what's going on.
There are no experts here. Troy Schulte, county administrator. He's referring to Tyler Technologies. That's a company that Jackson County spent $17 million with to handle the assessment process. Basically, they outsourced it to a third party. Tyler Technologies out of Texas was in charge of handling the Jackson County assessment process. And they have royally screwed thousands of homeowners and property owners across the county. Frankly, if there's something the state of Missouri can do against Tyler Technologies, like investigate this company top to bottom, they should be doing it on behalf of Jackson County taxpayers. And Tyler Technologies should be getting sued, as far as I can tell, by Jackson County for mistreatment of taxpayers and completely robbing taxpayers in this county blind with the job that they've done. And to have this kind of response from your county leaders, not even showing a little bit of empathy and sympathy. And boy, yeah, it looks like this process was royally screwed up. And I don't expect politicians to admit they ever make a mistake. I mean, they don't do that anymore, unfortunately. And as a society, we're worse off for that. I'm not expecting them to get up there on the podium and, Frank White, who's flanked by Gail McCann Beatty and Troy Schulte, saying, hey, gosh, we screwed this one up. I'm not expecting that. But just a little bit of empathy, a little bit of sympathy for the little guy, the taxpayer in this county, who, by the way, pays your salary as well. Just a little bit, even if it's fake, a little bit would be appreciated.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I put out the fire. Well, you started it. Yeah, but good thing I was there.
Yeah.
Right? At least that.
But if it wasn't for me.
Yeah, right.
No, you started the damn thing. That's exactly what they're doing. And with each passing day, it becomes a bigger insult to you, the Jackson County resident here. These people whose salaries you are paying, who, by the way, are handsomely paid, I will add as well, don't seem to care. And if they do care, they're doing a horrible job, a pathetic job in showing you that they care. That's the other part as well. They're not even pretending. The county executive and the assessing director were not even at the county legislature meeting yesterday. But kudos to the county. I will give the legislature this. They voted yesterday to pass a resolution that will now ask the state auditor, Scott Fitzpatrick, and his office to look at the entire county tax assessment. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue to go through with your appeals process. You should. The state auditor has been on this show, and he has noted that we're not a lifeline here for the short term, but we are able to investigate this and figure out how this went so horribly wrong. And if nothing else, that hopefully can prevent something like this from ever happening again. But it's going to take the people, it's going to take the county executive, the assessor, Troy Schulte, and the legislature to do everything in their power to make sure you don't have people in Jackson County ending up on the streets because they can't afford the tax increases on their own property, on their own homes. 6:13 as we get it rolling on a Tuesday morning on KCMO. I do want to note, 8 o'clock today, for the first time ever, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy is going to be on this show, along with Missouri Congressman Mark Alford. We'll do a three-way conversation with Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy and Mark Alford. So be sure to be tuning in on 710 a.m. and 103.7 FM. Also, just stream us if you're at the office by then on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Now, on the national scene, Joe Biden stumbles onto the island of Maui yesterday, and it was as embarrassing as you might imagine. We've got the audio on that coming up next on KCMO. Well, Joe Biden finally took time away from his vacation to go to Maui, where hundreds of people remain missing. There are fears the death toll from the fires in Maui could top 1,000 people when all is said and done. I mean, it's truly amazing what has happened on that island and how it seems like the media still is not talking enough about it, the reasons behind it. And I know we don't have all the information just yet, and that's not me dabbling in any kind of, wonky, crazy conspiracy or anything like that, but we just don't know a lot right now about what triggered that fire, unfortunately, at this point. But Joe Biden has made sure that, he's going to embarrass himself while he spends all of a few hours in Hawaii yesterday, which is exactly what he did. So let's start off with this. Joe Biden, as he's got, one of those Hawaiian leis on, he's given this speech with one of these Hawaiian leis on, right? So probably the first time Joe Biden's gotten laid in got to be quite some time. But anyway, he's got the lei on, he's talking to the folks, and he tells this completely made-up story.
I don't want to compare difficulties, but we have a little sense, Jill and I, what it's like to lose a home.
Wait, what? Okay, so here he is talking to people who have not just lost structures, by the way. They have hundreds of friends and family who are missing, and let's be honest, at this point, likely not coming back. And Joe Biden begins by talking about how, well, Jill and I know a thing or two about losing a house. Well, really? Joe Biden's had a house burned down and no one knows about it? What's this story, Joe? Please continue.
Years ago, now 15 years ago, I was in Washington doing Meet the Press. It was a sunny Sunday. And lightning struck at home on a little lake that's outside of our home, not a lake, a big pond, and hit a wire and came up underneath our home into the heating ducts, the air conditioning duct. Huh? Make a long story short, I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat.
What? Oh, make it stop.
Come on, man.
Make it stop, John. Oh, my goodness.
Well, sure, you play your victim card, and then you pile on there about lost the vet and the cat.
Could have lost the Corvette. It was a close one.
Man.
As you talk to people who haven't seen their loved ones in days, have lost everything they ever owned, and family in the process. And this guy's got the stones, the audacity, the stupids, whatever you want to say, to get up there and start talking about, I almost lost half of my 67 Corvette.
That was a sunny day. Lightning struck. I love that part.
Yeah.
I guess we were to assume he was in a different place than his home.
I guess, yeah. Well, here's the thing. We've got some information on this 2004 house fire that he's talking about here in this story. So, once again, this is 19 years ago, and you go back in time to this story. 2004, fire officials told the Associated Press that the lightning strike merely caused a small fire that was contained to the kitchen. Yes, that's right. I'm reading the AP story from Wilmington, Delaware, August 2nd of 2004. The article starts off, lightning struck the home of Senator Joseph Biden, starting a small fire that was contained to the kitchen. No one was injured in Sunday's fire, which started amid a storm that caused serious flooding in Pennsylvania and knocked out power to hundreds of Delaware homes and businesses. Firefighters arrived to find heavy smoke coming from the house, but were able to keep the flames from spreading beyond the kitchen. The fire chief at the time said, luckily, we got it pretty early. The fire was under control in 20 minutes. So the president of the United States goes to Maui, where hundreds of people remain missing. The death toll could top 1,000 in this small town. People have lost everything, and in some cases, everyone. And he gets up there with a lei around his neck and starts talking about, I almost lost my 67 Corvette in a fire, and luckily, can't believe Jill got out in one piece. I mean, are you serious, Joe? But it wasn't done there.
But all kidding aside.
All kidding aside. You're talking to people following a tragedy. Which one is it? Is that a real story about how you almost lost your home, or is it all kidding aside? Just answer me that.
The firefighters the way they responded. You know, there's an old expression. I grew up right across the street from a fire hall in Claymont, Delaware. And the expression is, God made man, then he made a few firefighters. You're all crazy, thank God.
Yeah, thank God they're crazy. I wish we could say the same about you, Joe. Truly unbelievable. The guy's there, making these comments, telling this story, trying to compare himself and a small house fire in his mansion 19 years ago where, probably just called his homeowner's insurance and got his cabinets replaced, comparing that to people who have dealing with one of the all-time tragedies, one of the all-time natural disasters in modern American history. The stones on this guy, the audacity of this guy in that moment to even go down that road tells you, either he's a jerk or he's more aloof than we ever expected. Maybe it's a combination of both. I don't know. But I'm just picturing Trump doing that. Yeah, we had a fire once at Mar-a-Lago, and boy, I'm lucky to get out of that one. Oh, gosh. Could you imagine the media?
Almost lost a set of clubs.
Yeah.
Right.
Could you imagine the media meltdown that would have taken place? And rightfully so. Yet you are not going to see that clip on CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, anywhere today. It will be completely blacked out, which is exactly what I wish I was for the last 2.5 years in this country, blacked out. What are we at right now? Let's see. Temperature-wise, we are sitting here at 7:22 on a Tuesday morning. Got cooler than yesterday. 77 degrees. Humidity is 94%. Woo, boy. We got foggy windows here at the KCMO Talk Radio studios. And we are going to peak at 99 degrees today at 4 and 5 o'clock. So how about that? Woo! Stay cool. Nothing compared to tomorrow. It'll be 101. Thursday will be 104. Friday will be 102. So we're just getting warmed up here. No pun intended this week.
We're pushing the triple digits to Friday now.
Yeah. Yes.
Ouch.
Yes.
It's creeping.
Breaking on Saturday.
Kick off noon Saturday.
Yeah. Chiefs on Saturday at noon. It'll be down to 89 on Saturday. So
yeah, and that's up from its 84. I thought, 84, that's pretty good.
Well, bring your sweatshirt for 89 degrees. I bring this up because John noted in the top of the hour news that Kansas City Public Schools are dismissing students early for the rest of the week due to the extreme heat. And to that I say, I understand, right? I mean, these are incredible temperatures. And when you add in the humidity, you are putting people at risk. So you got the high schools releasing at 10:50, then some other schools are going to release at 11:50, and some other ones are going to release at 12:45 is what we've got.
Yeah, and so basically all students will be fed lunch to honor that part of the program and deal. Yeah.
And then they're out. Then they go home.
Yeah, it's kind of elementary schools. I guess maybe it's going between air conditioning and those that don't have it with that 11:50, 12:45 split.
Well, what I don't understand is this. I saw last night that a lot of the classrooms don't have AC units. And those that do have AC units are struggling right now. So I went and I looked this up at the moschoolrankings.org, which is done by the Show Me Institute. And just so you know, Kansas City Public Schools rank 490th out of 516 school districts in the state of Missouri, according to the moschoolrankings.org list, which is put together by the Show Me Institute. And you're telling me that in a district with $255 million in expenditures, that's the number, $255,110,697, with a superintendent, by the way, making $274,000. You can't get window units from Walmart to keep the kids cool and keep them in the classroom. With a $255 million budget, you can't buy some window units for a school district that is paying its superintendent almost $300,000 a year and is ranked 490th out of 516 districts in the state of Missouri. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's the current superintendent's salary. We're paying off a couple other guys that left.
Well,
I'm being facetious. I don't
No.
really know that for a fact, but we've turned over that position numerous times in the last 20
we
years.
have. But once again, it's about the system not being for the kids.
Right.
The kids are always last. The kids are always second. The parents, the families, their well-being. It's always secondary to paying administrators, to paying unions, to building a new building that doesn't do anything to actually make sure kids are learning. But when it comes to like, hey, it's the second week of school and it's going to be really hot in August in Kansas City, which is really nothing new. I know this is extreme heat, but it's really nothing new to be hot in late August in Kansas City and to be like, yeah, we got to shut down school early because, well, we don't have enough window units to keep kids cool in school. Where are the damn priorities for the Kansas City public schools? I mean, this is completely ridiculous that with $250 million budget in a first world country, in a first-class city, supposedly, the kids have to go home at 11 a.m. The parents now are going to have to figure out what to do with their kids at 11 a.m. because, well, we don't know how to keep them cool. And by the way, a lot of the kids, let's be honest, in the school district don't have a cool place to go, sad to say in many cases.
Exactly.
So you're basically saying, go figure it out. It's your problem.
One kid in the story said, it gets out early, but his school is air conditioned, and so riding the bus sucks.
Yes.
Because it's not.
Yes.
So part two is you've got the schools and or the buses, then your transportation.
So the losers here, as is always the case with the public school format, appears to be the students and their families because they can't find a couple of pennies to scratch together in a $250 million budget to get some darn air conditioning in these schools. And I'm not saying you need, that's why I'm not saying you need central air. All right, I understand that would cost a fortune, but you can't invest in several hundred or whatever is needed window units to pop into these classrooms for these kids. You can't find that underneath the couch in a $250 million budget. How about you fire the joke of a DEI coordinator? I'm sure you got one. And you use that money, which is probably a six-figure salary, and you go buy some AC units for the kids. There's a concept, and then you keep them in the classroom and actually teach them something.
Or wait till September.
Yeah, or yes, that works too. Although, John, with global warming, it's going to be hot forever.
It'll only be the middle 90s first week of September, but
Well,
at least.
yeah, true. That's a cool down. I couldn't believe that when I saw the story last night, and John had it obviously top of the hour news. Well, happy Renderings Day. Good morning. Welcome in on a Tuesday on KCMO Talk Radio. Kevin McCarthy is going to be here in 15 minutes alongside Missouri Congressman Mark Alford. So don't miss that three-way conversation just after 8 o'clock. The Royals are set to release renderings of proposed $2 billion baseball stadiums. One rendering will be, of course, for the East Village downtown. The other one will be for the North Kansas City location. It's going to take place today, 2 o'clock, during a press conference, and it will be streamed. KCTV5 should have that, our partners over there. Now, as I have said since this whole process started, I love the K. I think it's a great place to watch a game, but I understand why the Royals are wanting to leave. From a business perspective, I get why the Royals want to leave. I don't have to like it. I don't have to think it's in the best interest of the fan or the taxpayer, but I've accepted the fact that they're gone. There's no point in talking about, what about staying at the K? It's not happening. It's a useless conversation to have at this point. So I get it. I'm sympathetic to it. That being said, the one thing that's really turned me off is this entire Bachelor-style process that they've gone through, like today.
Bachelor, huh?
Bachelorette, Bachelor, whatever, Survivor type thing, where it's like, we've got 14 sites. We're whittled down to 10.
Oh, yeah.
Will you make the top 6? Will you be in the final 2? And
Missouri
now,
or Kansas.
Yes, Missouri or Kansas. And now here we go with our top 2 locations. And today at 2 o'clock, we will have a press conference with the big, pretty renderings when all the lemmings are supposed to go, ooh, ah, woo. That's what today's supposed to be about.
Yeah, I expect to see two different ballparks myself. Do you suppose it'll be one ballpark and then Photoshop 180 in another direction laid out and go, hey, here's our two choices?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. I think it's a good question, but I'll tell you why.
You expect two different?
I expect two completely different renderings. Because as I understand it, the downtown site is like 20 some odd acres, I believe it is. And the North KC site is like triple that, 60, 70 acres.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that the East Village location is going to be much more vertical build, and then the North KC location is going to be much more of a horizontal build, just based on the amount of land that they have in both places.
That would have been my thought.
So that's, as I understand it, that's how the renderings are going to go. They're not going to be like, here's this location and this stadium, and then we're going to mirror the same ballpark into the other location with a slightly different skyline view, right?
Yeah, so I'm more into aesthetics, so I would have been more inclined to make my choice looking at the two different renderings than saying, oh, this location geographically or that location. Yeah. I don't have a favorite. My favorite's going to be whichever ballpark looks the coolest.
Yeah, well,
personally.
I understand that. You know,
that still could be downtown in my mind.
It could be.
Could be.
It might be downtown.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too.
All right.
It might look cooler, but to me, if I'm the Royals or if I'm a taxpayer of either Jackson or Clay County, the more important thing is, what are you doing to the taxpayer? What are you asking for, by the way? We still don't even know that. And this is still the biggest problem. Nobody's given a price tag on any of this. If you're down to these two locations, also tell us what you're going to expect out of each set of taxpayers. Right? It's like you're going to do a remodel of your kitchen, and you've got all these guys coming through your kitchen, and they're saying, here's what we'll do to your kitchen. Oh, how about this brand new, big old island,
granite.
6 feet long, top of the line granite, all these different things. And no one's telling you what it's going to cost. Hey, but look at my pretty pictures. Oh, boy, you're going to want these cabinets. Great. What does it cost? I mean, for crying out loud. I am trying to be sympathetic to what the Royals want to do, and I am. I understand the model that John Sherman has to do in a smaller market to try to compete. He's got to create a ballpark village that's going to create revenue streams beyond the gate, beyond the beer at the ballpark. He's got to have the restaurants. He's got to have the bars. He's got to have some commercial properties and rentals and all these different condos. And I am sympathetic to the screwed up economics of baseball that force this kind of project onto a team. I am. But at the same time, the way they're going about this is such an insult to those of us who have lived through the last 2.5 years of inflation, whose dollar is not going any further than it was. It keeps shrinking by the day. And they want to put out pretty pictures at 2 o'clock today and think that you're dumb enough to just go, ooh and ah, I like that one. It's really insulting. And while if I were John Sherman, if I were the Royals, there's a lot of reasons I'd be going north. If I've got to invest $2 billion for the next 30 to 40 years, and I can choose Jackson County in Kansas City, Missouri, or a Clay County in North KC, that's a no-brainer. And John Sherman's a very bright man who didn't become worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, because he made bad business decisions. And if I'm looking at these two options on a 30-year play, based on the last 3 years alone, it's not even close. I'd be sprinting up north. But that doesn't mean the process has been flawless. And the process has been transparent. It really hasn't been. And at some point, you're going to have to offer up what it's going to cost. And maybe they're going to wait. Maybe they're going to wait until the end of September when what's going to happen at the end of September is, I guess, the Royals are going to announce which location they want. They're going to say, hey, we're going up north or we're going to the East Village. And then they'll say after that, by the way, here's the price tag. Maybe that's the plan. But would it kill you to say, hey, We've got our 2 locations. We've got our 2 final options. And by the way, here's what it would cost Jackson County. Here's what it would cost Clay. Because until you do that, you're not doing a kitchen remodel without knowing the price tag. You're just not doing it. Covered a lot there with Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Good to have him on with Congressman Mark Alford here on KCMO Talk Radio, 710 AM and 103.7 FM. Always stream us, of course, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. We didn't even get into the border issue. I mean, geez, there was so much to talk about with the Speaker of the House. But not sure if you saw here in the last couple of days, we crossed the 5 million mark. Yeah, illegal border crossings soared last month by 180,000. That's over 5 million. 5 million in less than 3 years under this administration. It's beyond a crisis. It is a security nightmare. And the fact that this is not covered by any in mainstream media is truly astonishing. I mean, 5 million people. Where are you putting people? Where are they staying? Where are they going? Who are they? This is a security nightmare and a security crisis. It's not just a border crisis. It is a security crisis. And you know who's coming out winning? The cartels. The cartels that are pushing illicit drugs, fentanyl all over this country, including right here in the Kansas City area, they're winning. How many people have come through the border out of the 5 million who have intentions to harm Americans? I don't just mean through drug use, but, God forbid, terroristic tendencies. You know and I know. I mean, it'd be naive to think that that's not happening out of 5 million? Unbelievable. Yet once again, I mean, well. What are you going to do? I mean, as long as they're not in Beverly Hills and the Hamptons and, Palm Beach, I guess we'll just kind of let it go, right? They're not on Kamala's front doorstep in D.C. necessarily, although they should be. So, we're just going to kind of let it go, let it slide, move on with our day. It impacts the housing market, right? It impacts schools. It impacts everything. The homeless crisis that is an issue, obviously, in major American cities across the country. All of that is impacted by this. And don't touch it. Don't talk about it. Don't bring it up. But my goodness, we had so much to talk about with Kevin McCarthy and Mark Alford. We couldn't get to that one. But we appreciate them doing this. We appreciate Mark helping coordinate that conversation. And when we set it up, what we were told is that the Speaker of the House does want to have his voice in more districts around the country. I mean, yes, he can do Fox News, whatever he wants, but doing a show like this has a lot of value for him beyond a 2-minute hit on Fox News. That, yes, a lot of people in Kansas City will see, but you're really talking a lot of issues that oftentimes have local impact, i.e. the Farm Bill. So grateful to have the Speaker on, and thanks to Mark Alford for helping coordinate that. 9:21, welcome in. Happy Tuesday morning. It's going to be another scorcher. Remember that from the old commercial back when we were kids there, Mark, in the 90s? What was that, a Sears commercial? Another scorcher. Yep. Cool. They're getting their air conditioning all updated from Sears, and then they end the commercial, and the dad goes, the mom goes, another scorcher. And then the dad goes, cool.
He looks out from his newspaper.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Oh, that is, yes, absolutely spot on. One of the all-time great 90s commercials. Nowadays, you'd have like two people swinging different ways, gender-wise, and everything else. There'd be a throuple going on there, and, everybody would look different in the whole thing. But that's when, things were a little less controversial in America. But yeah, it's going to be another hot day in the 90s, and be sure you're staying cool. Kansas City public schools are shutting down early the rest of the week due to the heat. So that is what it is. Just know that kids are getting their release early. Why? Because, there's not enough air conditioning in classrooms. $255 million in expenditures, not enough AC. So go figure. Joe Biden in Maui yesterday, And take a listen to what he says here as he's walking around the site of a horrible natural disaster in Lahaina. And you got to listen closely here, but he's walking around with a group of people. He's got Jill by his side. And listen to what he says.
You guys catch the boots out here? That's a hot ground, man.
Hello to everybody. All right, Chris, we're going to jump ahead to the next spot, okay, guys? Thank you.
That's some hot ground, man. Now, if you haven't seen the video, he's walking around with people and he says, you guys catch the boots out here? That's a hot ground, man. There are hundreds of people dead and possibly hundreds more. 850 people are still missing. And this bro is sightseeing and trying to be comic relief for the tour. It's almost like he has no sense of what's actually happened there at all. You want to talk about poor taste? We all are guilty of making a joke in a bad situation once in a while in an awkward way. But a part of me actually wonders if he didn't even realize what he was saying. If I want to give him the benefit of the doubt here, it's like he didn't even realize what he was saying, which is arguably a bigger problem than an off-color comment.
Yeah, when he mentioned the vet, I don't know if we played that clip again, but earlier this morning, he's like, yeah, we had the fire and almost lost my cat, and then the 67 vet.
Yeah.
By extension, he would have meant in the classified documents too, right?
Yeah, no,
right?
I haven't played that clip, but this clip, it's like you're walking on hot ground where people died. You're walking on ground that people perished. And you're like, yeah, geez, that's some hot ground, man. All right, what if George W. Bush did that, walking around the World Trade Center after it collapsed, where thousands of people died? And you're sitting there, and he's standing on the towers. Embers are still coming out of the World Trade Center. And George W. Bush says, oh, boy, my boots are hot. Oh, that's some warm steel, man. Lahaina's not September 11th. I'm not suggesting that it is. But it's similar in the sense that you have something here where hundreds of people have perished. And you're there as a president to have empathy and sympathy for those who lost everything. And yes, obviously, it's a photo op. We all understand that for any president, it's a photo op. But now you're trying to kind of make jokes on the side, like, oh, boy, look how hot that ground is. Yeah, and who knows how many people died in that very spot you're standing. And if I want to be generous and give him the benefit of the doubt in that situation, I mean, even if I do that, it's the leader of the free world. Now, there's the other story. This was in a press conference, more of a press conference type setting, where after Biden took a tour, he gave a speech. And this is what John was referencing earlier. He's given this speech. He's got a Hawaiian lei on. So it just looks weird. First time Biden's been laid in who knows how long. And he goes on to say this.
I don't want to compare difficulties, but we have a little sense, Jill and I, what it's like to lose a home. Years ago, now 15 years ago, I was in Washington doing Meet the Press. It was a sunny Sunday, and lightning struck at home on a little lake that's outside of our home, not a lake, a big pond, and hit a wire and came up underneath our home into the heating ducts, the air conditioning duct. To make a long story short, I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat.
And my cat.
But all kidding aside.
Stop. That was what John was referencing there just a minute ago, that clip as well. I mean, how aloof do you have to be? Hey, this guy, it's like, come on. And by the way, none of that's true. Here's the Associated Press story, August 2nd of 2004. Lightning struck the home of Joe Biden, starting a small fire that was contained to the kitchen. No one was injured. A small fire contained to the kitchen. And Biden's like, I don't know what you're going through here in Maui where, you've lost everything you've ever owned. And many of you have lost loved ones. But, one time I had a fire in my kitchen. But good thing I didn't lose my 67 Corvette. That would have sucked. My goodness. Like, it's not even just hammering them for political stupidity. It's like, where's the empathy that Joe Biden was always known for? Even that's totally lost. Well, I'm sure you lost everything, and including loved ones. But gosh, did I tell you about the house fire I had in my kitchen 19 years ago? You got to be kidding me.